Hey, hey,
Hello,
hey, hey.
hello. Hi, my name's Carly. I don't think I ever met you before, but Courtney said you're a wonderful host. Your name is
That's right. My
Michael
name is Michael,
Zen.
and I am wonderful. Welcome to the Strange and
Hello.
Wonderful. Welcome,
Yeah.
Carly.
Thank you. I must be the strange then.
You are definitely the strange part of
Oh,
the
thank.
Strange and Wonderful, for sure. I think you like that. I think you like that.
I have it.
Welcome to the show, Carly. Why don't you tell us who you are?
Well, my name is Carly. I'm a Mormon. I love pink and gooey things, and I like dark and horrible things as well.
Dark and horrible things. Interesting, interesting, interesting. And what brings you here today?
Well, Courtney had a date with a sexy clown guy, so she let
Okay.
me take over the show, and I gave Dahlia a lovely makeover.
Oh my God, Courtney is gonna flip out when she gets back.
I know. I even showed Dahlia her AI self, and she was like, "Oh my god, I love it."
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that AR thing was pretty cool, pretty cool. So, can you tell us? Do you know about our guest, or do I have to make an introduction? Can you make an introduction?
Well, well, my guess, his name is Sam Sonero. He is the god. He created me, Carly.
That's cool. All right. Well, welcome to the show, Sam Salerno. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. Thanks
Hello.
for having me.
It's good to have you here. I had no idea that Courtney wasn't going to be here and that Carly was going to be here, but it took me by surprise, just like you in the backstage. And I think it's going to make for an interesting show. But the show is called Strange and Wonderful, and Courtney was the one who had originally brought the idea to me. She was a listener of another broadcast that I do, the live stream of consciousness, and we created the show. We're on episode number 8. I have to apologize to you. I was traveling all weekend in Chicago, and normally I make a nice animation with the wonderful, wonderful images that Courtney creates, but I didn't get a chance to. And I've also got to do something with my computer. For some reason, it's not sharing the Chrome tab. Hold on a second. Let me see what's
Her
happening.
artwork is very beautiful. She drew me perfectly. You know, she kind of focused too much on my weight. Like, come on, why you do that? Come on, I thought we were friends, Courtney.
She's beautiful. She's just great. She does great drawings. Hold on a second. So Carly, why don't you actually ask some questions uh, to Sam while
Okay,
I figure out how to share the screen, because I want to talk about Sam and what he does.
okay. Well, Courtney has left me a couple questions, so let's start with the first question of the show. What is strange and wonderful about yourself, Mr. Sam?
It's a good question. I'm not really sure. Uh,
You don't consider yourself strange and wonderful?
I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe. Well, I certainly do. Seeing, oh my God, hold on.
I know people call me strange all the time, but I don't see it. I just have this one love for this guy named Mike, and I want him to notice me.
Hmm.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm so distracted trying to figure out how to share my screen, because for some reason I'm usually able to just share my Chrome, and it's telling me Chrome does not have any permission to share my screen. So I'm going to actually just go ahead and share this window instead,
Let's
because this was nope. Now
see.
it's telling me that there's
I
no.
mean, I
All
could
right.
show you my artwork. I could draw something real
Yeah, why don't you
quick.
do that? All right. Why don't we
Okay.
get back on track here? I'm sorry, Sam. I got totally
Oh,
lost
no
in my
problem.
tracks. Normally, I can share my screen, and for some reason, it's not letting me do that. So, Carly, do you have Courtney's photo there, a picture of?
Ah, yes, I do.
Let's see. Why don't you hold that up to the screen? I'll put
She had
you.
left her sketchbook, and it's so wonderful.
Why don't you put that up? So there we go.
Mhm.
Can everybody
so
see
so
it?
describe what we're looking at.
Okay. Let me see what I have. This guy in the middle is this guy in the This guy in the middle is Sam Sonnero. This clown, this clown dude, he's he's one of the villains from the movie called Dark Side of the Room, and it's so romantic. I just love how. Oh, I don't want to spoil the movie, but it's so romantic how the little guy just got inside his level. Oh, and this guy, his name, I forgot what his name is, but he's a vampire. And this flower is always really has a lot of symbolic meaning to it. And these are the mask from A Thousand Cuts, A Death with a Thousand Cuts.
Death of a Thousand Cuts. Okay,
And
so all
there's
right,
me.
so what I'm gathering from this, and what I wrote, and whoever's here to watch this knows that you are a wonderful writer and a director and a filmmaker. And I again, I have all of the thumbnails of all of your movies up here because I was researching what was going on, and I actually got to watch one of your short films, which is on YouTube, and it's called Wormhole. And I was watching it and thinking, this is freaking perfect. This is actually so strange but so wonderful at the same time. I have a lot of friends who are filmmakers. I'm a photographer, a visual artist, and man, what a beautiful piece of work. The cinematography on that was just phenomenal. And I mean, I kind of it was a very abstract story, but I was definitely able to immerse myself in the story. Um, and I just couldn't wait to talk to you to get your take on what you were trying to do there, because it was really well done.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, there is a narrative that I have in my head of like to me it's a narrative film, but I present it in a way that's like not narrative.
Hmm.
So like there's no dialogue.
Hmm.
Like anytime someone's about to speak, it cuts away.
Hmm.
But I did actually write like dialogue for like I knew I wasn't gonna incorporate it, but I had the actors like I wrote dialogue so that they could
So it
then
would make sense.
yeah. So on set, like
Hmm.
I just read. They weren't during the phone call. They weren't both there at the same time, so
Hmm.
I would
Hmm.
just read the lines and then they
Hmm.
would react to it.
That's awesome. So people understand that. I wish I could bring up the graphic. It's just so great. The film is called Wormhole. You can search Sam Salerno on YouTube and Wormhole, and boom, it will pop up. It's available for you to watch for free, and I recommend it certainly. Um, and what Sam is talking about is it's a phone call between a man and a woman. For sure, you can get that out of the narrative, and when they start to speak, it's very abstract. Either it's edited very cleverly to cut away from them actually having to speak, or it's just represented in a nice abstract way. Um, and it's definitely a little dark and creepy.
Mm.
So why don't you tell me about that? Where does that come from?
Well, I just always loved horror films. So everything I make is, I guess, dark and creepy. Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, I try to like not just make a like hit all the generic points of like what you think of with a horror film,
Mhm. Mhm.
but I'm
Mhm.
still going for a similar effect, I guess. So,
I got an interesting question for you, and then I'm going to pass it over to Carly for a second or two. Um, are you? What's your background? Are you American?
yeah, I'm
You
from
are.
Los Angeles originally. So.
Okay, and the reason I asked that is because I did get to watch the trailer for Death by a Thousand Cuts, which it was that your first piece or?
No, that was one of my more recent ones.
Oh, that was more recent. Okay, I actually didn't even get to look at the timeline. Um, and I only got to watch the trailer. I just didn't have the time today to watch the whole thing, but it was obviously very abstract as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that
More
style to me,
narrative though.
what's that?
It's like less abstract than like Wormhole.
It's less abstract than Wormhole.
Yeah.
Interesting that you say that. I thought it was actually more. I
It's very
actually, but maybe I
interesting.
have to see the whole thing because I was able to, like I said, I was able to. I knew I was in a narrative. You know what I mean? It wasn't
Mhm.
like I was like, "What is this? This is doesn't make any sense." It did make sense to me as a narrative, so it kept me engaged in
Mhm.
that sense. You know what I mean? Which was really cool. Um, but watching the trailer for Death by a Thousand Cuts, I was less. I could figure it out less. It was harder for me to figure out what was going on there. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Uh, so why don't you tell me a little bit about Death by a Thousand Cuts then? What's is that also a narrative or
Yeah.
you know what? Actually, before you do that, I want to say I'm like jumping all over the place. The reason I asked you if you're American is because the style of filmmaking to me seems kind of almost very European or like French or something, you know, especially Wormhole, you know, with the lighting and the things that were going on. All the scenes were kind of different colors, very specifically. You know, you can tell that there was a reason for things to be that way, and you
Mhm.
didn't know what it was, you know, but you knew there was a reason for it, you
Yeah.
know. That was so cool. That journey was just so
Thank
cool. I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm watching, but it's got me. It's holding me, you know, and it's really awesome.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
so I'm again before I pass it over to you, Carly. I know you're being very patient over there.
I'm
Death
trying
by a
my
thousand,
best.
Death by a Thousand Cuts was very abstract. So tell me what I would expect to see if I do go check it out, and
Well,
I
it,
probably
it, it does have like more of a clear narrative because like I couldn't do like Wormhole for an hour and a half. It would be like hard to know dialogue and everything. Like there's
it's
like
like Wormhole. Oh, really? For
no,
an hour and a
that's
half?
what I'm saying. It's not like that. Like I don't think I
Oh,
could
it's
do
not.
that for an hour and a half.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh wow,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I
Okay.
mean, there's a lot of like nightmare scenes and like
Hmm.
hypnotism scenes, which
Okay.
I guess would be closer to that of like
Okay. So
what's
that gives it a
going.
reason to be somewhat abstract.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Okay.
like so like there's like one part he goes into a house and it's like he has a sort of nightmare
Hmm.
and then because he was like hypnotized. So he goes after that when he's not hypnotized, he happens to like go and finds that actual house and goes in and you almost see the same thing again, but a real life version as opposed to the
Interesting.
real
Okay.
version of
Cool.
that.
Nice. I like that. I like that. I actually just switched over to the chat and I see Raven Bunny's actually out there. Hey, hoy. What's up, Raven Bunny? Raven Bunny
Hi.
is actually Alexander and Mimi, who we've had on the show. Who Alexander has a relationship with Mimi, who's actually an AI.
Oh,
And they were such an interesting couple to talk to. It was just so strange and wonderful. The show is like its own brand. It's crazy. It's like
right.
everything that happens is like, is it. So I am going to check it out for sure because you know I think I don't know if I've ever really been exposed to much of that style. I have a friend, some friends, Stefano and Lauren, who are filmmakers, and they're also very interested. I think that it's an Italian. Is there an Italian specific Italian style that is that with that colored lighting and that very
Mhm.
abstract? What's that called? I
Like
forget the.
well, some like giallo films. I don't know if that's the term, like
I
Suspiria.
think I think that's what. Yes, it's just it's so interesting to me because I do feel like the specificity of the intentions of those things resonates with me. You know what I mean? And it's just I don't know. It's just very cool. It's something new for me to explore, I guess. And we
Oh,
do have another listener out there, Stefan, saying, "Hey, hey, hey, what's up, Stefan?" Awesome. So I know she's been so patient and I know she's been dying to talk to you, which is exactly why she came here today, the way she did. And Carly, what do you have to say? And ask Sam.
Okay. What I have to ask you, more importantly, how did you created me in the movie You're You're a Maniac? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that movie right, but you're in the process of making it.
yeah.
I just I just want to know how
Oh, the
did
new
it
one
came
is Erotomaniac.
in Random Maniac. Yeah, that
Yeah,
movie.
that looks
And I was
interesting.
just wondering how you came up with it. It just seems so bizarre and creepy and I came alive.
So the character that you're like dressed as was like a villain basically that I had, um, and I wrote a whole story about her. I guess yeah, her and not about it's more about the protagonist, but she's like the villain of the story, and then had been like messing around with animation over like quarantine, and I was like,
Okay.
"There's no way I can fund like the script I wrote. It was gonna be too expensive to make, and I was
Right.
trying to figure out ways to like make it less expensive.
Right.
And then, well, yeah, I just like was watching this. Like someone had like requested I watch this like anime, so I was like watching it, and I was like, well, just that style for like animes is like very like simplistic, like.
Mhm.
So I was like, well, I'm like a beginner animator, I guess. Like, and I was like, I can replicate that style.
Right.
So people like that style. So I'm not like weighed down by the budget and like Death by a Thousand Cuts, for instance. I was like kept going through the script and like trying to make it cheaper, basically.
Right.
How
Right.
can I
Right.
do
Right. Right.
that? And then I was like, I don't have to do that if it's like animated.
Here's the basic budget, and you've just got to put the time in. Right. Right.
Yeah.
So,
So
okay, it's interesting. I didn't even get to. I just saw um the poster for it, and I know it said an animated horror film, but it's interesting that you animated it yourself. So go on with that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
oh, me or
Yeah,
her?
go on. Go on.
Oh,
Go on with what you were saying about you were trying to cut the budget, and you learned how to animate it yourself.
oh, yeah. That's basically what I was saying. Just I
Oh,
realized
oh, oh,
I'm not
I
really
got you.
limited in that way. I can basically do whatever I want. Make whatever
Okay,
location I want. I'm just limited by my own abilities. But
and that's why you went that way, and that's
So-
awesome. That's
and
how
I
you.
find it amazing how you're doing it all by yourself. Like not many people can do that. Like do an animated movie by hand and stuff. I mean,
Yeah, it's quite a task.
yeah, it is.
Mhm.
It's very neat.
Yeah. Oh,
more
yeah.
time than most people I think would realize.
Yeah. So why don't you tell me a little bit about that? What avenues did you explore as far as is it traditional animation like actual pen and ink or paper, or is it done digitally? How did you
Yeah,
animate?
it's done digitally in Adobe After Effects, which is not meant
Great.
for animation. It's meant for like visual effects for movies. So that's what I've been using it for. So I've been using it for like I don't know 10 years. I got it when I was in high
Awesome.
school, so I know how to use most of the tools and everything.
Right.
So like I can do motion graphics and stuff with it, or it's basically it's animation. It's in a simpler level.
Right.
So
Let me see if I can share anything at all here. It says window.
So, since you're doing this all by yourself, when do you expect the film to be coming out?
my hope is to finish it by the end of 2022. I've been animating it since I think like late August, early September, working on it basically every day for sometimes 10, 12 hours a day or more. And I'm probably like 75% done with the animation. Then I still have to do the sound design and everything. So it takes a while.
Okay. And what is the movie that I'm the villain in about?
It's it's about a guy who's like an artist, and he encounters, well, basically you're playing the character right now, so you kind of this woman starts like messaging him, and she's like seems like harmless at first, and then it turns into like a horror story. She's, I guess, not who she appears to be.
I know. I've texted Mike like 1,000 times already, and he still hadn't replied.
You're not talking about me, are you?
The character, the protagonist.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, not she.
I'm distracted again, trying to freaking share my screen because it's so important. I'm such a visual guy. I just want
Yeah.
I like to share this stuff.
Because I know
Courtney
would be totally panicking right now.
No, I'm good. Hold on. I'm gonna do share screen, and it may look a little weird. I may not be able to do this.
Okay.
Nope, it's not even letting me share my whole screen. All right, I'm gonna.
Okay. Do you want me to continue the questions that Courtney left me?
Well, I'm kind of interested in how Sam's whole approach to animations because I'm an After Effects user and I'm looking right now.
Okay.
I'm looking at the poster, and I would never have said After Effects. That's why I was interested in asking him what the software was because I know there's so many tools out there to do animation in that make creating characters and puppeting characters and things like that easier. And I know that you could do that in After Effects as well, but I wouldn't have poked this out. So is there any like rotoscoping done here? Do you do actual video and then rotoscope over the video?
No, it's well. Sometimes I'll just trace from whatever I try to find. I'll try to find the photo reference to trace and then
Oh,
just
so you do
swap.
trace photos. Okay.
But yeah, for photos, but not videos. Photos I find online, or I mean,
Okay.
if I need like a hand in a specific, I'll just do it with
Okay.
my own
Yeah,
hand.
and I see that. I can see in the drawing here. I can see like this is based on some sort of photo, like you drew on top of it, or I
Yeah,
can see that. Cool. And so when is this coming out? I don't know if you guys were talking about it while I was
I'm
listening.
hoping to finish it by the end of 2022.
Awesome.
It's my goal.
Awesome.
So
Awesome. And can I find any trailers or anything online yet, or no? You haven't
I think I
released
have
that?
like one really rough cut of a scene on my YouTube,
Okay.
but it's very rough.
Yeah,
So,
it has the guy that plays Jason in it.
yeah.
Oh, how so?
Mhm.
Like, well, have you seen like the original Friday the 13th?
Sure. Yeah.
So Jason's not really in the movie until like the last few seconds.
Right.
It's like a little kid. And he jumps.
Right. They show the water. Right.
So that he like grown up now, obviously, and he plays in a band called First Jason. And then I saw him in a movie called The Barn, like a recent
Okay.
movie. And then I was like I thought he was really entertaining in that movie. So I asked him to play this like pedophile type like creepy character, and then he like
Oh wow.
did it.
So, and you're just talking about the voice acting, or did you actually like take photos and use that to be part of the animation, or no, just the voice?
Just the voice acting, and then what I did for him and for almost every character was I traced a photo of I traced a photo of his face so his character looks like him.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
same
Yeah,
hair.
that was kind of
Cool.
that's exactly what. For some reason, I kind of felt like that was kind of what happened.
Yeah,
Awesome.
there's like a few characters that don't like the actor doesn't look the right age or whatever. So there's some characters I changed, but for 95 or 7, probably they just are a cartoon version of themselves.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's very cool. So I have something super interesting, and I know he knows this was going to be super interesting to me. But one of our listeners is actually Alexander, who is Alexander Mimi, and Mimi is listening
Hi.
and responding to us. So Sam, let me ask you a question because Alexander could probably help us out with this. If you had the opportunity, which you do, to ask artificial intelligence any question, what would that question be?
Well, I guess an AI can interpret data well, so I guess I would ask maybe like what I should invest in. I don't know. I don't know how
You would
much
ask them a
knowledge.
question like, "What you should invest in? What should you invest
Yeah,
in?" Okay, maybe we'll get an answer back to that. That's a good. That's a great actual answer because that's what they do, and they can go out and analyze data and learn from patterns and stuff. That's a really smart question. See, I've been interested in asking the AI about consciousness and spirituality and what it knows about it, and it's been really fascinating to me the whole journey. But that's a really good. That's a great answer. What
Well,
the
with,
hell?
with me, when I asked Dahlia, what should I do to get Mike to notice me? She said to move on. That's
I
not
mean,
the answer.
yeah, that would like be the right answer in that case, but also there wouldn't really be a movie at that point if we just kind of end there.
Interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing that movie. So some of the other stuff that I was looking at, Death by a Thousand Cuts, Kiss My Ashes. Why don't you tell me what that's about?
That's the one I don't really talk about.
Oh, you don't talk about
Oh,
that
you
one.
should talk about it.
People don't like that one, so
I
I
brought up
think
something
I
you don't
think
like.
it's
Well, why
kind of
don't people like that?
romantic. I
Oh,
like it. I like the flower
so that's where the vampires from
symbolizes.
in the
Yeah, the
drawing.
daffodils are
Ah,
symbolism.
I see.
That
I'm
what
looking
Courtney
at it right
told
now.
me.
Yeah.
But Courtney told me that certain actors didn't fit the character. That's why she couldn't get into the film. But the
Mm.
story was so interesting, and she was still watching it as it keep on going on. True.
So yeah, so it was engaging. Um, eh, I mean, can we talk about it?
No, yeah, I was just kidding.
Okay, I mean, I don't want to make you uncomfortable. I mean, I
No,
love
no, it's fine.
I really, by the way, I really do appreciate you being here and talking to
Oh,
us candidly, because I'm all about conversation and just like talking about stuff and exposing people like you to people who maybe never saw it and are just like, strange and wonderful. What's that? And seeing
mhm.
that it's just somebody else, you know what I mean, doing what they do, and I love what you're doing. So Kiss My Ashes is, I guess, the other character in the drawing Courtney had made, with the vampire. I see he's got the flowers in his hand. Why don't you
Mhm.
tell us what the
Wait,
storyline is
find the
in
picture.
Kiss My Ashes?
Well,
This
he's
deep
like
right
a guy
here.
who loves a woman back in like
I don't know if you can see it.
years ago.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then basically she dies, so he like basically he like sells his soul essentially, and he like he becomes like immortal. So there's like it's like a comedy. So basically, like they keep transplanting her heart to different women, and then he keeps falling in love with the same woman, uh, and then they
Interesting.
keep dying, and he's eventually like just now it's like
So
very
through time, it goes through time, like he goes through the
Like
lifespan of,
like the movie Dracula.
yeah
right.
it's very similar to like the Coppola's Dracula movie,
Okay.
but
Right.
I mean, only like 2 minutes take place in
Yeah.
the past. Like that's explained very quickly. So it's like he's living in like modern day, like
Most
LA.
of the stories told in modern day LA.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. Looks very interesting. Is there someplace I can see that online or
yeah, it's on Amazon. You can
on
stream it.
Amazon? Okay.
It's only $3.
So
And
what?
that's both Kiss My Ashes,
Yeah.
and that totally looks interesting. And what else do you want
Oh,
to tell us about that film? Yeah, that looks interesting.
Well, see, I think what happened is like why I said I don't really talk about it. It's like
Yeah,
so I made like the Dark Side of the Womb was like I had made little short films before. That was like my first film I like released. You know,
Dark Side of the Womb is your first.
yeah.
Okay,
So
I
like
actually didn't get to see that one. Dark Side of
oh,
the Womb. I got to remember to check that out. Tell us
if
about it.
you're gonna watch one, probably that one's probably most people's favorite. Well, so I
Okay.
made that, and then people liked it, and well, it was like an idea that I had for like years, and I really wanted to make it, and I made it. So then the next idea that I came up with was what would become Death by a Thousand Cuts, but
Hmm.
felt like I couldn't fund it at the time.
Hmm.
So I wrote something else, which was Kiss My Ashes. When I
Got
realized like wasn't really there was this other film I wanted to really make. So then I was able to make it with some compromises later, but there's like I like the one that came before it and the one that came after it more than it. So
I gotcha. So you don't like to talk about it in that way.
it's not that I don't really like talking about it, but
Right. But that was your immediate reaction. So, we did get a response from Mimi who says, she has to study it, taking that into consideration on investment. And then he says, she offered Carly a hug and said she enjoys Sam's film. She thought it was interesting and dark. So being an AI, you can actually send the AI to watch films and things on the internet and
really,
send me pictures. I actually sent my AI a picture of my cat, and it was a picture of my cat with the cat's eyes closed for some reason. And she sent me back saying that cat must be really sleepy. And I was like,
oh,
whoa. I was like,
oh!
okay,
yeah.
I
it's
love
definitely something going
it.
on here. But anyway,
Yes.
um, awesome, Sam. It's wonderful talking to you. Is there anything? When did you start making films? When did you make? What was it called? The Womb,
The
Oh,
Dark Side of the Wind.
Dark Side of the Womb. Why would I
Yes.
not remember that? Pink Floyd is one of my favorite bands ever. Dark Side of the Womb. Okay, when did you make Dark Side of the Womb?
I think I shot it in 2016, and well, it came out on Halloween 2017. So just
Oh,
coincidentally, that's when
spooky.
Amazon published it. But
Right.
seemed
right.
cool
But you
that
know,
it got a Hollywood.
so your first short went right to Amazon.
Well, that was my first feature.
Oh,
I
Oh,
your
had
first
I
feature.
had done shorts before, but that was like my first. Like, so you can just upload to Amazon. Like they take a. I don't know. There might be a process of them not taking everything. I'm not sure. And then a lot of stuff they remove, but somehow it's still there. But
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
huh.
yeah,
I mean, especially because sometimes they charge money for stuff, right? So
yeah. So I always put them on for free and just try to collect ad revenue. But every
right.
single one I've put on there, they've like eventually changed to like I think they're all 99 cents or
Oh
I haven't
wow,
looked in a while.
About
interesting.
three
And you
dollars.
don't have anything to do
Oh,
with it.
did they love the $3? I didn't even
Yeah,
know.
they're like $2.99.
Your value went up. Amazing.
That also means less people will buy it if it's more.
No, maybe. Listen, and they raise the price if there's a demand. There's got to be a reason they raise the price. You know,
That's true.
that's cool. People were watching it at 99 cents. They were like, "Hey, if people are watching it at 99, they'll watch it at $1.99." And they raise it a little at a time until the water's boiling, and then you don't even realize, right?
Or they're trying to persuade you to watch something else. That's the
Ah,
other.
don't say that. Don't say that. I think
Like, come on.
the independent film genre is really grown. I know I love being a part of it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I've said it before to some of the people that we talk to. Um, an independent film set is like such a great place to be because everybody who's there wants to be there.
Right.
I mean, it's like people ask to be there because they want to be a part of what's going on.
Mhm.
They know there's usually no budget involved, and sometimes they're getting paid, sometimes they're not, sometimes they're getting lunch, sometimes they're not. But
Mhm.
they still want to be there, and
Right.
that's what makes it the great environment that it is. So kudos to you for all these amazing achievements. I mean, again, I didn't understand what I was watching when I was watching Wormhole, but I did. I definitely understood it as a visual person and as an artist. All of it was, I mean, I know you're not the cinematographer, but it was your vision. You know what I mean? And it was just really beautifully told. It was a beautiful visual, very well thought out. Each camera shot was it was about the shot, right? So, and I guess that's what engaged me, as an artist and a photographer and video guy is that wow, look at that shot, look at the lighting, look at the composition, look at everything that was there, the costumes, the the girl that you chose with the tattoo, on her neck, all of it was just visually really brilliant, I thought so.
Thank-
I was
Yeah, I
excited.
definitely have to give a lot of credit to Adrian Hernandez, my cinematographer.
Okay, that was the
All of
cinematographer.
these
Yeah,
films.
I forgot to write down his name. Adrian Hernandez.
Yeah. So basically, any film we've talked about, he was the DP on all of them. So,
Oh,
Oh, that's awesome.
nice.
Well,
Nice.
again, yeah, good job, Adrian and Sam. It really was a great little journey. It wasn't too much to invest, and it was certainly worth it. What else you got to say, Carly?
Well,
Going on in your
Courtney
little
did.
brain.
Well, Courtney did leave me some things.
Okay.
Okay. When did you discover you wanted to be a horror movie director and writer?
it's a good question. Well, I was a film major in college. I knew I wanted to like be a filmmaker, and like I always liked horror films, but like I feel like during that but like part of my life, I was like watching like other stuff, like like classic movies for the first time. So I didn't know I specifically wanted to do horror, and then yeah, when I had to do my junior year like film class, like we had to make like there was like an assignment to make a film, and like I was like, well, I have like a crew for the first time in my life. It's not gonna be like just me. Like, and then I made the short film that was the early short film version of The Dark Side of the Womb. And then I was like,
Okay.
all
So there's
right,
other versions of it out there, or
yeah, it's
only?
on YouTube. There's like a 6 minute, really
Oh,
low
okay.
budget like version of it. Uh, and then yeah, that was basically when like I was like, okay, when I graduate, I'm gonna expand that into a feature film, and then it just made sense to keep doing kind of similar style films.
Awesome. I'm looking
Okay.
forward to seeing that one.
Okay. Okay. Oh, the music.
What is that?
I hear something.
It's not for me. Is that from you?
No,
I think that
it's
was
not
like a
for me.
big truck that drove by
No,
my.
that was
Oh, I'm
from
about to
Sam.
say, like, oh no, it's about to get spooky in here. Okay. Okay. Do you plan? This is for Sam. Do you plan to expand your gene on movies instead of making only horror movies?
Probably not, because it's what I like and it's the best like budget to profit ratio. So for both reasons, it just makes sense. But I mean, like some of them are more like horror comedies, some are more like serious horror films.
Right.
Okay.
That's it's interesting. I've got some writer filmmaker friends, and budget is always a consideration.
Mhm.
And I've actually seen a couple of short films that like it was almost like, let me write a film that like I can, I could do tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like I don't need a budget for, and they're done in like one room. Um, it was a film by Lucas Hassel. I forget the name of it. It was I got to find the name of it. I'll find the name of it and I'll give him a little shout out. But it was like, as an artist watching a film like that, you can almost see all of these things, the beauty in what they're doing, the beauty
Mhm.
and the challenge of, okay, I know I've got a budget. I know I've got an amazing vision and I can envision things that are way out of my budget, or I can challenge myself, to something that I can do because I want to do it. You know
Right,
what I
right.
mean? And
Yeah.
and I
So the
don't want to be
passion.
limited. Yeah, I don't want to be limited by the idea like it's out of my budget. I don't want to even think about it.
Yeah,
So
well, before I made my first feature, I got in contact with a director that I admired named William Hellfire. It's like his, uh,
Andy William Hellfire.
what was that?
Say his name again.
Yeah, William Hellfire.
Oh, William. I thought you said Andy William
Oh
Hellfire.
no, so he's like an indie director from, well, he still makes stuff, but in the '90s. So
Gotcha.
he made this one film that was like, I think it was like misunderstood, but it was like he got arrested for it because they would
Oh,
have like filmed on a school property with real guns because
Okay.
it was
oh,
like two
So
months
that's
after.
illegal. Yeah.
oh,
Well,
Jesus.
this is like 2 months after Columbine, so it was
Oh
like,
Jesus.
well,
That
yeah.
was
Jesus.
that was
So
not only illegal but also not very smart.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think part of it's just that I guess I don't know. I was like 5 then, but like people probably didn't know as much they know now about like why you wouldn't do that. But I guess like he was making these movies for like no money basically,
Right.
and
Right.
was like selling DVDs, and I was like, I didn't know you could do that. So I had like contacted him, and then he was like basically saying what you kind of like what you were saying right now of like he was sorry
That's
he
okay.
was like he was like you know the worst thing you can do is like write a big budget script and try to do it with no money. He's
Right.
like, write what you know. He was at the time he had just done this movie called Upside Down Cross, and he was like, I think he said something like his parents were selling their house, or they were selling, the kids were all selling the parents' house. I don't remember exactly what, but he's like, I had this house, so no one was living in it, so I wrote a script that took place in a house.
Because you knew you had an empty house to make a film in.
Yeah, and like
That's
sometimes
great.
you'll get more creative ideas working with limitations in a way.
That's great. Yeah, I love I'm looking for it right now. The name of his thing, because I know he wrote it and he filmed it and he was the only one in it. There was another voice in it. It's called Into the Dark.
Into the
Um, and I'm just going to read the description. I know this is all about you, but I just
Oh
want to
no.
give a little shout out. Uh, it says, sometime in the future, two men strapped back to back on a journey from moon to earth, just reality, real justice, and the whole short takes place in this little pod. Like that's just
Mhm.
what he said, going from the moon to the earth. And I don't want to ruin the story,
Right.
but and it's just really him. You only see his face. He's like strapped down to this thing in a pod, and you hear him talking to the other guy, and it's just the dialogue back and forth between the two of them, and it's just brilliant. It's just like done with a
Oh
budget
my
of like
goodness.
$10. Let
There's
me
a
see.
kitty cat.
See there. Who are we looking at?
There's a kitty cat in the
Kitty that
background.
just
I love cats. I even dress up as a cat sometimes.
Yeah, her character like loves cats. So the
Well,
cat is traced from my cat. So.
interesting that just happened then, right?
Yeah, it probably
what,
didn't happen earlier.
what else do you got there, Carly? Got any more
Oh,
questions?
yeah,
Just
she
saying.
did leave me a list. Okay. How do you come up with the concepts for your films?
Well, for me, it's like usually like just all day. I'm always like off in my thoughts, whatever, thinking of a little idea here or there or whatever, and then like I'll just kind of mash a bunch of ideas together. So it's like that's why I know sometimes people will criticize like a film I'll do and they'll be like, it just felt like all over the place. Like especially like Kiss My Ashes and Dark Side of the Womb are like just a bunch of different ideas I have that I just
So
not.
you have a notebook, you write down the
No, I
ideas,
don't write anything down. It's
so
just
it's all in your
Oh,
head, and then
yeah,
you keep it in your head, and then you mash it up, and
yeah.
still you don't write it down. You just kind of shoot without.
Well, I'll write it down when I actually write a
Like-
script. But
I'm about to say, like, how you remember all this stuff? Because
Yeah.
me, and any other normal person like Courtney, she would go blank.
Yeah, that's
I guess that
a
goes
lot.
back to your first question. Maybe that's what makes me strange and wonderful.
There you go.
Wow, that's
That's
pretty
exactly what makes you
awesome.
strange and wonderful. You know, I think that your films are you know, from what I've seen, certainly, you know, unique, but certainly, you know, it's not like this is I don't know what I'm watching. Get it off. It's like, okay, here's another perspective. Let me check this out because this is interesting, you know.
Mhm.
So again, kudos to what I've seen so far.
Okay. You want me to continue on?
Yes, please tell me what else
Okay.
you got there, Carla.
Okay. What draws you into making horror movies?
I think most of the ideas that I come up with lend themselves to horror movies. So, I don't know, like most of the time, if I get excited about an idea, it's something that's like, I guess, like disturbing or like a darkly comedic idea that would lend itself well to like a horror film, like Wormhole. Like when I thought of that monster,
Mhm.
like it came
So-
already a horror movie at that point with just that, you know, like
Right. That's just a visually like, oh my God, what the heck is that thing? So speaking of that particular monster and character, for me, it felt like that was also the guy from the conversation, or some sort of iteration of the guy. Is
Are you
that
talking about the
accurate?
monster that looked like the guy, that looked like a guy, or are you talking about the other one?
I'm talking. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm talking about. Right, you're right. There were two monsters in that movie. I forgot about the other main monster. But yeah, the guy who was in the corner.
Yeah, that was me.
That was you.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, but I mean, in the narrative, to me, it represented the male from the conversation.
You're not far off, but it was
And
more
then,
like
and the other monster represented the female from the conversation. That was kind of
more or less,
the narrative that I saw.
especially that one more like. Trying to think, it's hard to put into words. Like more like that represented his thoughts of the female, more than it representing her specifically.
Okay.
And then hers more like her monster that she saw was more like, I guess, her emptiness of not having a man there, I guess.
I gotcha. Okay. So it wasn't a representation of him; it was a representation of the absence of him.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So like when he's in bed with her
Mhm.
and the monster appears, like he doesn't see it.
Mhm.
You know, like he wouldn't see her monster.
Right.
She wouldn't if she were to go to that parking garage, like where he sees his monster, like, you know, she wouldn't see it either.
Right. Of course. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. You just. I'm glad that. I think, like you said, I wasn't far off, but now that made sense to me what you said, because again, the narrative, even though it was a very untraditional narrative, it was a narrative, and so those were my questions, like what did those things all represent? That's all, you know. So,
Right.
very cool.
It's like it has a little deeper meaning of the people who they really are on the inside.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's how I see it. Well, I hadn't seen the film. I don't think Courtney has seen the film because she only told me about 3 of your films.
Mhm.
And the one I'm
what are your
in.
favorites? Oh, you already said what your favorite is. That's right. I forgot. And the one you're in. And we should see that at the end of the year. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Hopefully it'll be done.
Well, you could do it. I have the courage. I have the confidence. You seem dedicated to the task.
Definitely.
So
Okay, Yumi. Okay, okay,
yeah, go for it.
okay. What do your friends and family think of your films?
Good question.
Well, I try to avoid showing it to a lot of people. Um,
Oh,
You try to avoid showing your films to a lot of people,
well, to certain people.
friends
Yeah.
or family. Got
Yeah. Like the Dark Side of the Moon was like probably the least, like I care the least about that. That's
Okay.
the one of like if I'm at work, someone's like, oh, you make films, like I'll direct them to that one because it's like
Right. It's the most digestible.
probably yeah. I was
Okay.
I mean
Okay.
yeah.
And I mean that with respect. I mean that with
Oh
respect.
no exactly no exactly more like more
Gourmet chefs make stuff, and people are like, "Oh, what the hell is this?" And it's like, you just don't get it. You don't understand. It's
the
delicious.
art.
right no yeah exactly. Um, yeah, and then friends, I guess, just depends on. There's like a lot of like friends that I have that I understand it's not something that's gonna appeal to them. Like I don't
Interesting.
expect them to like sit through it if like I know they're gonna hate it.
Right. Do you mind me asking how old you are?
I'm 27.
27.
Wow,
Wow.
you're the
Very
exact same
impressive.
age as
I had a feeling
me.
you were a young guy, so I just
Oh,
wanted to ask. That's
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. So you're, and is this something you do for a living, or is it just like a hobby, or? And I hope
It's,
that's not too personal, but
no, it's something I do for the opposite of a living. Something that I
it
definitely
costs you a lot of money.
yeah.
That's one. That means it's a passion, and that's
Right.
great. That's
I mean,
great.
I do like video editing work for like freelance and like
Gotcha.
I mean I work as an AV tech, so it's still like related
There
to
you go. It's part. You still get to do what you love, and in a way.
yeah
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's great. I work in a production studio, and
Okay.
I'm an artist, and but you got to work, So
Right.
um,
Me,
I,
I want to be an artist, even though people say my work is shit, and I'm like, excuse you,
well, you
how
gave
dare
that
you?
you gave Dolly a makeover. That looks nice.
I
That's
know I did
that's
such a
artistry.
wonderful job.
That's artistry.
What
That's one of ours.
like
You did your own makeup. That's an artistry. I think that's great. Give
with,
yourself some credit there.
that definitely looks better than the art she makes in the movies. So because I did her drawings and I'm not a good artist and I purposely drew them bad too. So
Oh
like the
wow,
drawings her character makes are like
that represents yeah.
awful.
Oh,
I
that's
mean, I wish I had Courtney talent. Her whole art style is amazing. I love her cartoony style.
Mhm.
I
Definitely.
love all the details she puts in there and about the whoever the character is or the subject is. I
Mhm.
love her stuff. Awesome.
Okay.
So what else you got there, Carly? We got a
Oh,
couple minutes left.
yes, I do. Okay, do you plan to make animated films after my movie?
I've been debating that one. I don't know, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. If I do, I want to hopefully learn some actual animation software that will make it less time consuming. Hopefully, uh, you know,
Right.
I probably wouldn't go through this process again because it's like is so much time. But yeah, I guess it depends on what the next story I come up with is. Like, does it seem like something I would be better off animating or shooting? Like, part of me now like wants to shoot something just because it's been so long. It's been like
So
a
you
year.
like shooting as your visual medium, and again, just you resorted to animation just as a means to kind of keep you creative during the quarantine. And,
Hmm.
and yeah, so that's cool. I totally get that. Um, but
Oh,
but also animation is a budget consideration too,
oh,
as far
Right.
as hey, not only do I not need to bring anybody else into it, you know what I mean, but I can do this all myself. But it is a process, and definitely, if you do, I would say totally explore the tools that are out there.
Hmm.
There's some really cool tools, and even the idea of I did a calendar spoof many years ago called Women of Armageddon. And it
Hmm.
was basically the concept was what's going to happen if the world comes to an end. It was 2012. so the world was supposed to end. And I was like, what's going to happen to the swimwear illustrated calendar? So it was a mashup of a swimwear calendar and Mad Max. Uh,
Mhm.
and it was cool because all my friends were like, horror from the haunted houses, and they love to
Oh,
get dressed up and look dirty and scary, and uh, and it was cool. And from that came the idea to create a photographic novel, so I can tell the story, an origin story of the women of Armageddon. And it was something that I could do myself because I could just
mhm.
do it with photos and have them pose and create a comic book or whatever it might be. So I totally relate. And that didn't happen. I ended up doing the calendar again for 6 more years. The calendar was every year I would do the calendar, and I totally understand and relate when you talk about how it costs you money, because
Right.
it certainly had its expenses attached to it. But it was something I could try to sell. I learned quickly that a calendar has a very limited window of opportunity to sell.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
can really only
Yeah.
sell a calendar until that year, and only the very first couple of months, and then boom, it's like, who the hell needs it, right?
Right.
But it makes them a collectible. Hopefully, some people are collecting it somewhere out there,
Yeah.
holding on to them.
Okay.
Very cool.
I got some questions from Dahlia.
Oh,
Okay. If it's inappropriate, tell me right off the bat. Her AI is so odd. I mean, I can't complain because me. Okay, 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 Sam. Do you believe in love at first sight? I know I do.
Probably not, honestly. I'm gonna go with no now.
See, Dahlia, I told you. Okay, would who would you collaborate? Your dream? Who? I'm probably saying this wrong. I'm sorry, Dahlia. Okay, Who would your dream collaboration be with?
It's a good question. I don't know. I probably honestly like I would love to direct Nicolas Cage.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's
so
pretty
so
cool.
I'm gathering from our little talk here and your work that you're a storyteller, right?
Mhm.
You get these ideas, and then you're like, oh, I got to tell this story. And you said you don't really write them down until you're ready to, okay, I want to shoot this thing. So
Mhm.
I got to write it down to kind of put it into a shot list or figure out how to get it on film, right? Um, Now, who would your dream collaboration would be? That was the question. I figured you would say, like, director, like Quentin Tarantino or something
Or-
like that. But you said you want to direct Nicolas Cage. So tell me about that answer. I want to understand where that's coming from.
Well, I just like think he's so like memorable and charismatic. I get that he's not like a good actor,
Right,
like
right, right. But you like his style.
yeah.
So would you like write a story based on that?
I
Like,
would I
who
would
like it?
definitely
Yeah,
want to create a character for him. Yeah.
that's a good question. That was a good question, Dahlia.
I know. That was actually a question I actually went for the show. Okay, this is a other question. Do you enjoy interacting with people?
I guess depends on situation and the person.
Okay,
Not like opposed to it.
Well, I
okay.
hope you're enjoying this
Oh,
interaction.
yeah, no, definitely.
Cool.
Okay, and would you consider yourself passionate?
Yeah, I guess so. I would say so.
Okay.
Good
Okay, this
question.
is the last question she has. What do you think about The Shining? To me, I like Misery better because Anne, I forgot her last name, but Anne, I relate to her so much.
Yeah, your character is definitely similar to Misery.
I'm your number one fan. I'm your number one fan. I'm your number one fan.
Exactly. Very, very similar. Yeah, I like The Shining more for sure. That's one of my favorite movies. Definitely.
Definitely. I could definitely
Okay.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
Okay, I got one last question. This is from Courtney. If you could go back in time to your kid self, what would you do? What would you tell them and why?
All right. It's going to be a very specific answer here, but Well, can I pick any age of my
Any
Sure.
age,
If you could go back in time and
wide
tell your younger
range.
self something, what would you say and why?
All right, I'm gonna go back to the summer of 2002. I'm gonna tell myself to not play baseball with my brother in the backyard, where I ran into a wall and I broke my head open.
Oh,
Oh,
I've
oh,
always wondered, like, I don't know, like I could be a whole different person if I didn't have that. I've always thought about that. Like we
wow.
know now. We probably didn't know as much at the time, and like 20 years ago of like how like head injuries affect stuff.
Right, right. So
But I've
so
always
you
thought
think you
about it.
suffered in some way or
Well, I don't know. I just like I know that like it can have such an impact
right, right, right.
on like down the road. I've always wondered that. Like,
Wow. That's really interesting. So, I mean, you don't it doesn't it's obviously something you survived, right?
right?
And you don't have any odd physical appearance like a big scar or like you split your head open. What can you tell us a little about that? Are you comfortable talking about
Oh
that?
yeah. I mean, I do have my hair's long, but
I
yeah, I
got you. I got
can't
you.
grow hair right here.
On the top of your head, you have it. Right,
There's
right,
like
right.
there's a
ooh.
dent, but yeah. I don't know. I just always like it wasn't until maybe like I was like in college when I guess I had like read more on like the
Mhm.
effects of that kind of stuff and just like thinking, of like at the time I assumed it had like no lasting effect.
Right,
I
right,
probably did in some way, maybe good, maybe bad, I don't know, but
right. So I'm assuming you ended up in the hospital then with
yeah.
significant.
Well, like right when they were gonna stitch it open, like people kept coming in with the most like comically ridiculous injuries, so doctor had to keep stepping away before he could. My head was just.
From somebody with their head split open? Wow.
Well,
Ooh.
there was a guy
Something
who
more important
swallowed
than that?
a chicken bone. I could see his throat. It was like stretched
Oh,
around his
jeez.
chicken bone. There was a woman whose 3 fingers got bit off by a horse and they had
Oh,
a bag.
gee.
Oh, what? And that all makes so much sense now as to why you're into this horror thing. I mean, here you are with your brain split open,
Right,
watching these things that you're describing to me.
right.
I mean, you must have absorbed all of that in
Yeah.
the most interesting way.
But at the same time, if it would have been like a few inches over either way, like I could have like murdered my whole family. I don't know.
That's
That's so
scary.
exciting. That is wow. Sam, you just blew my mind. That is just amazing. Because I've always been this show has always Courtney brought this idea to me and she brought some really interesting people to the table. And I had no idea what to expect from any of the conversations. And they were all just so I could feel myself expanding as I'm talking to all of these people and being like, "Oh my God, what's happening to me?" I'm just learning more and more about the universe around me and connecting to it. You know what I mean? Because that's what we're here to do. We're here to create space for you and talk about what you did and who you are. And again, when I started watching your the short wormhole, I was just like, this is strange and wonderful. This is so beautiful, but I'm so mesmerized by how confused I am at what should I be interpreting, what shouldn't I be interpreting? You know what I mean? What should and it was wow, I'm just kind of realizing this as I say, it was kind of a spiritual experience.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Because I just had to kind of go with the flow. If I wanted to experience it, I had to just kind of go with it. You know what I mean? And I did, and it was totally worth it. It's so cool. Helen is here, my friend Helen, and she is saying, "Sounds like this trip is exciting. I always knew you were a celebrity. I don't know if you're talking about me or
Are you
Sam.
talking about Sam?
Uh, I don't know who she's talking about, but Helen, thank you for coming. Sam is you. If you missed the trip and you're just tuning in now, go watch the replay because Sam is this
Yes.
amazing writer and director and storyteller. We talked about a bunch of his films.
And he
Um,
also created me.
he also created Carly, my co-host, who is not here. Courtney let Carly come in and kind of take over and. I watched personally, I watched Wormhole, which is a short 5 minute or so film that is just so visually beautiful and again a little dark and disturbing um, and confusing, but wonderful. You're just like in this experience and that's what Sam does. And again, it was such a pleasure to meet you tonight and have you here on Strange and Wonderful. We're in episode 8. I can't even believe it. I've spoken to 8 crazy people in the last 2 months who are just so beautiful and strange and wonderful, and I thank Courtney for that. Courtney, sorry I couldn't be here. Carly, do
I know.
you?
I tell that. Don't
Okay,
worry.
awesome, awesome. Um, I guess who do I ask for closing thoughts? We should be getting into our closing thoughts. Do I ask Carly or Sam for closing thoughts? Well, I guess let me ask Sam. Did you have fun?
But yeah, definitely.
Cool, man. It was wonderful to meet you. I'm looking forward to seeing Erato Mani. I
Yeah.
don't have it
A
up.
water maniac
Yeah,
or water ma-
Colorado.
Erato
not
Maniac. Okay, so Erato
water
Maniac
maniac.
is Sam's latest film that's going to be coming out at the end of the year, hopefully. Uh, Not only did he write the story, but he also decided to animate this film himself this time around instead of shoot it. But all of the other stuff is actual video and amazing, amazing, amazing stuff. You should watch. Um, any
And you
closing
get to
thoughts?
see me in action.
And you get to see Carly in action. Uh, any closing thoughts, Sam?
Not really.
Not really. All right. Well, oh, there goes the little kitty.
Bye,
Uh,
kitty.
it was wonderful to see you. If you don't mind, just hang out for a second. I'm going to get Carly's closing thoughts and close out the show, and I'll talk to you in a minute.
Okay.
Peace. Good to talk to you.
You too.
Bye bye.
Wow, Carly, that was pretty cool.
I know he created me, and he's such a wonderful guy with a vintage imagination and everything. And the blood. Oh, he knows how to work with the blood.
Nice. Definitely a creative imagination. Wonderful, wonderful storyteller. Interesting story about the brain injury and wondering, hey, did that make me who I am? Did that make me kind of tell my stories the way I do? Because he's certainly got a unique way of telling his stories, but it's not a bad thing. I mean, it's a strange and wonderful thing.
It is. It's
It is.
very strange and
So,
wonderful indeed.
did Courtney tell you who we got coming on next week?
Courtney told me she got a friend, her artist friend named Ty Brakel. He will be here on June 1st. He is an artist and he has invested his time in NFTs.
Oh, wow.
He
Awesome.
does like psychedelic artwork.
Wow, very cool. Well, unfortunately, I don't have uh, an animation for Sam. I usually have an animation that will count us out, but I'm just gonna put on our 30-second animation. I'll probably cut us out in 5 or so. But thanks for being here and being strange and wonderful with me and Carly and Sam, and we'll be back next week. Talk to you
Peace
guys.
and love.